Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
We made this.
Hello and welcome to We Are Starfleet, the We Made This Podcast Network's, I guess, original series era podcast that covers Discovery and now Strange New Worlds. Discovery's not in the original series era anymore, but let's go with it. I'm your captain and host, Craig McKenzie, taking us through a discussion of the final episode of Season 1 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, A Quality of Mercy. And joining me is my fellow captain, Ashley Thomas. Hello.
Hey, Craig, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Excited to be talking some Trek today.
Yeah, the final episode.
The final one.
Yeah, for now.
For now. For the moment. Yeah. Until season 2, anyway.
Yeah. We've been sort of alternating throughout the season, but we haven't caught up since the first episode of the season. I've been on a number of these. Last week I was on with Mike for my favourite episode of the season, which is a slight spoiler for my opinion of this one, perhaps. But what's been your thoughts on Season 1 of Strange New Worlds as a whole?
On the whole, I've had a lot of fun with it. I think every episode has been of really good quality of writing and performances and things like that. So lots to enjoy. I love the cast. I think this is the most solid all-around cast of any Star Trek series I've seen in current Trek. Really like everybody at the time. Like, and you could tell like the cast themselves have good chemistry and they get along well. So, but overall, I am having a ton of fun with the season. I'm sad to see it go away for a little bit. I was really enjoying having some fun Star Trek, and that's not commentary on the rest of modern Trek, because I love each modern Trek series for different reasons. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about Star Trek as a whole. It's like all Star Trek is good. I like all Star Trek. It's just, they do different things. But this one has been especially fun, and so I'm sorry to see it go. But overall, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think it's been really fun throughout the season. It's not without its ups and downs, and I don't think they've quite nailed episodic storytelling, in that a lot of the stories, they get some of the way into it and then suddenly realize, oh crap, we have to finish this. Oops, we have to wrap this up in some way. I feel like the writers might be a bit used to, we can eke this out over a couple of episodes, so some of the pacing starts that way, and then it just rushes to the end, which is, I think I said last week, a problem with Doctor Who sometimes as well, which interesting, the two biggest sci-fi TV franchises in the world, arguably, and those are suffering from the same kind of storytelling problems in some ways. But I think this is, it's been really fun. I love the cast. I love that all the characters, or most of the characters, which we might talk about, get a bit of a look in, whereas that's not necessarily the case on other Treks at the moment. And there's a clear mission statement to it as well. I think they've really set out to make a return to episodic television, and they had a go at it. And they've still got some learning, some teething to get through, but they're doing it, and it's been good fun. I would have liked a bit more episodes of this season because especially I talked with Mike last week, the death of Hemmer and so on. We didn't really get to see him integrated with the crew in the way that we might have if we'd had even another couple of episodes, just of little scenes between people make things hit home. And there's other things as well. Possibly your favorite character, Ortegas, has yet to really get any focus.
Right.
So little things like that. Yeah, maybe make this the 15-episode season.
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
10.
I
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't have minded at least 3 more episodes just to really kind of flesh out some of these lines we've strung out. Of course, we got a little more about the Gorn in the last episode, which
Yeah.
uh, I am a big sci-fi fan, obviously, and so you've spoofed Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Predator in one episode. Yes, I am here for that. So I was bummed I was unable to chat about it last week, just because I just geeked out on a bunch of different levels with that, and knowing that they used puppets, not CGI. I was like, I love practical effects, so that was really cool. But yeah, like we don't get to mourn Himmer in this episode. We don't get to have the kind of closure for that like we really want. We don't get anything else with Captain Angel and Cybok. Like, so I'm guessing those are left for season 2. But we do get some interesting stuff go down in this episode, so I'm excited to get to talk with you about that today.
Yeah. So what did you think of the finale then, as an entity of itself?
I was surprised to watch them so closely mirror an original series episode, and maybe I shouldn't have been surprised about that, but I mean, this is effectively Pike does Errand of Mercy, which is season 1, episode 26 of the original series. I liked and didn't like how they kind of assigned everybody roles based on that episode. It was going to be
Balance of Terror.
Balance of Terror.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, Errand of Mercy, is there a connection there?
No. Sorry, the only connection there is the title is similar. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's rewind. Cut that out. Balance of Terror.
Yeah.
See, this is my my weakness with Star Trek, is I am not nearly as familiar with original series as the rest of you guys. So, well, I knew, like, yes, it's this episode that they're talking about. I assumed because of the title that was the wrong one. So. But yes, so basically they put Ortegas in the role of being on the receiving end of the line. There's no room for bigotry on the bridge, Captain. Or there's no room for bigotry on the bridge, which I think is one of my favorite lines in original series. But I didn't like that. There's so many. I felt like everybody's characters had kind of really changed dramatically, and there's like a coolness among the crew in this scenario, and I don't know why that is. I think some of it's probably connected to Una being taken and imprisoned, but yeah, it's I have more questions than I have answers. So I guess we can dig into that a little later. But overall, I thought it was an interesting take on that episode. It kind of wrestles with this question that we've had all season. Like, Pike is wrestling, like, can my fate be changed? Can I change my fate? Can I change the fate of these kids? So I guess we get our answer to that. It's looking like a no.
Well, it's a yes, but the question changes to a should.
Yeah, good distinction there.
Because he can change it, and that's what future Pike warns him about. So you can do it, but it's maybe not a good idea. Let's explore what it's maybe not a good idea.
Right.
With one example. I was conflicted on this finale because I usually resent whenever a TV show or a film or any kind of property tries to push my buttons as a fan in a very particular way. Mm-hmm. And essentially remaking one of the fan favorite and one of my favorite original series episodes with a riff on that story is trying to push my buttons as a fan. We're going to lift lines from the script. We're going to copy the scenarios. We're going to change them a little bit. And we're going to tell the story, but slightly different. In some ways, it felt more like a Kelvin film remake of Balance of Terror, as in we're going to take how this universe is different and retell that story. So I got a bit of an Into Darkness vibe from it, which is never a comfortable vibe for me. It wasn't as bad as that. We'll get to why I think that, but and here's where your perspective might be interesting, because you're not as familiar with the original series as I am. So I wonder if this episode actually works on its own merits without you having seen Balance.
Mm.
I mean, I know you have, but
Right.
you probably haven't seen it a million times like I have.
Right. I've seen it maybe 3 times max.
Yeah, so I don't know if this episode actually works if you don't know that story. I mean, it kind of does because Pike doesn't know the story. He hasn't seen the episode.
Right.
So he's muddling his way through it, I suppose. But there's a lot of it in there that seems to invite you to compare what's going on here to what went on there.
Yeah. I mean, having seen the episode, and the episode was more readily available because I did specifically watch it for my Star Trek class last summer that I took at Salem University with Dr. Amy H. Sturgis, who's been here on our show before. And that particular episode is interesting based on, of course, when it aired, which was December 15th, 1966. And it could, easily be interpreted as commentary on the Vietnam War because you have, the marriage at the beginning, and then one of the couple dies, and in this, but they die because of the husband, Robert Tomlinson. He dies because of the war.
Yeah. And what's her name survives, and the episode ends with Kirk saying, sorry about that, but life goes on, and then he leaves. He doesn't quite word it like that, but that's essentially what he does.
Yeah. And it hit me differently because my dad was drafted for the Vietnam War, served in the Army for 2 years. So the original series episode hits me differently because I got to see a little bit of that firsthand, knowing that, one of my dad's cousins was killed in action. And then knowing the trauma and PTSD and other physical issues that my dad has suffered with because of his compulsory service. And so I just I felt like that original series episode just really looks at the cost. What is the cost of and it's tough. And so this episode, though, while it is kind of riffing on that story, it doesn't hit me quite the same way. It's tragic in a different way, because it's not so much about the cost of war as it is about messing with time. I feel like it completely changes the tone of the episode because of that. And while yes, it's riffing on this really poignant episode of original series, it's at the same time completely changing the original tone of the story.
Yeah, the marriage is alluded to in the episode, as in that's where Pike finds himself when he's flung into the situation and he has no idea what's going on. But again, that's just there as a wink to the fans of that episode.
Sure.
It doesn't actually have any meaning within the context of the episode itself. It's just that's what's happening. And then me as a fan, as soon as I saw that happening, I was like, oh my God, they're doing Balance of Terror. And that's all it took. That's all it took to for them to tell me that's what they were doing. Although at that point in the episode, I kind of thought that maybe he's just going to see a few examples of how original series stories go wrong when he's in command.
Yeah.
It was just the one example. But old Pike does say, it doesn't matter what you do, you can't prevent this unless you go through with what your destiny, quote unquote, is supposed to be. But yeah, in the Balance of Terror, it was not quite a remake, but it was heavily inspired by a film called either The Enemy Beneath or The Enemy Below, one of the two. This is, I think it's a destroyer fighting a submarine, is essentially doing with the Romulan ship. So yeah, there's a lot of fascinating background details to that episode. Whereas this is, the background detail is, there was an episode of Star Trek in the 60s called Balance of Terror and everybody likes it and we're going to do this and we won't get to do it otherwise. So we just have to play around with it in a different way. And it is a different story because it's a cautionary tale for Pike. So he has to live this story in order to understand why it plays out badly or why his presence makes it play out badly, which is one of the oldest stories you can think of. It's, It's a Wonderful Life, it's A Christmas Carol, etc. It's those stories.
Memory Alpha cites The Enemy Below as a possible inspiration. It also cites the submarine film Run Silent, Run Deep, which was released in 1958.
Yeah, so it's of a piece with that. It's
right.
Sci-fi can do these things. We can do submarine warfare, but in space. The but in space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with lots of sci-fi adaptations. But So I'm torn on the episode, and I'm hoping you can help me come to the conclusion over whether it does work on its own merits or not,
Right.
because you don't know the episode as well as I do, which
Right.
is a perspective I really want. Ideally, I'd like the perspective of someone that just hasn't seen it at all, but
Probably not going to
don't
find
have
that
that
on
moment.
a Star Trek podcast.
No. But I may find that after its official release.
Right. Yeah, we'll see
Yeah.
what the internet's.
We'll see what the internet is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, it's a remake of that. It is facilitated after Pike decides to write a letter to a young kid that he sees years before he will see him die in an explosion. And it says, the letter essentially, you would imagine, says, don't join Starfleet because you'll die. So it's a bad idea. Or do join Starfleet, but turn down this mission, or whatever. And you don't know what the letter will say. And neither does Pike. His future self says, you'll find a way to say it, or something along those lines. He said, don't worry, you'll find the words. And then you see old Pike, still with great hair, resplendent in his TOS movie era.
Right.
Old Pike. What did you think? It was some good old age makeup on old Pike,
Yeah. They did age him just a little bit, but I kind of feel like Anson Mount is one of those guys who's just going to get lucky and age like a fine wine. You know. But yes, you could definitely see some age lines. Good job on the makeup there. His Pike's Peak is still standing tall, so
Yeah.
one of those lucky guys that doesn't lose his hair either. So
Yeah.
but
Even
yes,
in the stress of a long Romulan war.
exactly.
Still keeps his hair.
Exactly. I did geek out a bit about the original series movie uniform. Like, oh, that's fun. To be totally honest, that is my least favorite uniform of all Star Trek uniforms I've ever seen. But
Interesting.
he still makes it look good. So we'll roll with it.
Yeah, it's slightly updated in keeping with the design sensibilities of the Strange New World uniforms as well. There's some subtle differences that I noticed because I've been looking at those uniforms for decades. And whenever you do essentially a flashback in the Next Generation, they're always wearing those uniforms. Yesterday's Enterprise, they're still wearing them. Picard in Tapestry still wearing it. So they kept those uniforms in service for a long time.
Yeah, for a hot minute. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, this episode is predominantly set 7 years on, and they're still wearing the same uniforms that they are in the present for the show, even though they changed them from the Discovery era.
Right.
Like gold, red, and blue, and so on colors. So yeah, I don't know. Too much conversation about clothing in Star Trek, I guess. We just keep talking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, old Pike's here with a time crystal. He went to see the Klingons. They gave him another time crystal. He screwed this up. Pike, go fix it. Here's a time crystal. And he gets flung into it. And I find this a bit bizarre because he gets thrown into a situation with no knowledge of what it is, no knowledge of the last 7 years. He's just expected to adapt. And then, well, he only tells Spock, but Spock says, yeah, cool, we'll just keep listening to you rather than doubting your judgment because you have no idea what's going on. I think it might have been better had it been a bit more like It's a Wonderful Life, as in he's there watching what's going on rather than participating in it. Because Spock's advice about the best way to do it is behave like you normally would, make the decisions you normally would, but that's impossible. You're changing the outcome by measuring it. So he's always going to be second guessing himself because he knows he will make a bad decision, but he doesn't know what that decision what that decision will be. So he's always going to be sitting there thinking to himself, is this what does it? And he even says so in his log a couple of times.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I considered it like that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird choice. I see why they did it, because it keeps him in the action, but it might have been more sensible for him to just be standing there on the bridge just watching it play out.
Right. Yeah. I see your point, like why the It's a Wonderful Life method might have worked a little better, but we know how Pike is though too. Like he's not someone to kind of stand idly by. So
yeah,
I can also see why they would choose to do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you don't have to keep compositing 2 extra Pikes into every scene as well as they're standing there watching. So practical considerations as well. So the idea is quite simple. It's the idea of decisions made at crucial moments that end up shaping history. Pike is the right kind of captain for a lot of things, as in he's the embodiment of ideal Starfleet values. He's Mr. Starfleet. He gets called a Boy Scout in early episodes. He's the guy you go to as the shining example of everything this is. But in this moment, his command style was the wrong one. It's not the one that's needed, because like in Vulcan Hello, and when I reviewed it, I made that comparison actually. It's pretty much the same situation. we need to present a show of force, otherwise they won't respect us. And Pike's default isn't that. His default is to try and find the common ground, whereas in Balance of Terror, Kirk is the captain who, well, listens to the advice that says attack and then does it, and then he fully commits to that.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know what my question is here, actually,
Yeah.
but what do you think of that idea of the right people to make the right choice at the right time to make things play out the way that they, or the best way that they can?
Yeah, I mean,
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
I think that's it's interesting because I'm torn because I have to hope for diplomacy and I feel like I probably would have leaned more Pike than Kirk, but at the same time I also if I think for a second that my crew is endangered, no, I'm going to be like Kirk and blow somebody out of the sky and run, you know. So it's a hard call. It's a hard call, and I don't know what decision I would have made.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's tough to judge either way because I can see both sides.
Yeah, you could almost imagine this as a Starfleet Academy course or test.
Yeah,
couldn't you?
this is not quite a Kobayashi Maru,
Yeah.
but it easily could be.
Yeah, it's the balance of terror. You have to make the right call, and the lesson is that sometimes you do have to punch them in the face to get them to listen, because in this they interpret, because it is basically fans interpreting what happens in Balance of Terror. That's essentially what's going on here. They're trying to extrapolate what that episode could have been about, and the idea of if the Romulan ship that goes out to test the Federation's defences and test their might doesn't make it back, that makes the Romulans think, maybe we'll not start a war, maybe we won't attack, because it seems like they're a bit more formidable than we thought they were. Whereas here it's, oh no, they tried to make peace with us and stuff. That's a sign of weakness. So no, we see them as vulnerable and we will attack. I'm not quite sure that's what Balance of Terror was really getting at. It was more just, it wasn't quite revenge, but it was more, I don't know, it was more just to test. Yeah, it was more to just the Romulan ship getting sent back with vital data and what the Federation were like now, I suppose. They were testing the defense. I'm not sure that there's Spock making noise.
Spock the cat, to be clear.
Yeah. I'm not sure the outcome might have necessarily played out that way, but you can sort of extrapolate it. It was interesting that all-out war was, one bad decision or one alternate decision away. That's quite interesting how fragile the peace is that the Federation enjoys. Yeah. But Pike tries to resolve it his way. And the interesting thing is they recharacterize the Romulan commander as being someone who's so tired of war that he is willing to listen. He's willing to negotiate. He's on par with what Pike's thinking. Whereas in the original episode, he was much more of an even match for Kirk, as in they were both brilliant tacticians. You even have that in the original series episode where Kirk says, I underestimated him, I won't do that again. Mm-hmm. There was a real, even though they didn't interact, there was a real respect that cropped up between them, where that was through their actions, whereas here it's they grow to respect each other because they talk to each other, which is different, of course. Yeah. So what did you think of the Romulan commander then? Do you think he was interesting in any way? Do you think I don't think he had a lot of screen time, but I think what they did with him worked well.
I did notice the way they chose to shoot on the Romulan ship was really interesting, where everything is kind of in shadow except the faces. I was like, that is an older stylistic camera choice, and because it's been a little over a year since I've seen Balance of Terror, I don't remember if that is a specific choice that they do in that episode. But I notice it in like even films as recent as like the 90s, but I definitely see it more in older films. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I did. I liked the Romulan commander. It's too bad really that we don't get more insight to his character, but I do appreciate that he's like he tells the sub commander, I have lived long enough to remember a time where there wasn't,
Yeah.
and you don't, so don't go over my head because you don't know. And so I thought that was really to me was really compelling. And then of course the line, in another universe you and I have been friends. I'm like, yeah, that was that, all of that. It worked for me. Yeah, it worked for me. It was very poignant.
Yeah, when I heard that line, I rolled my eyes a little bit because it was after an onslaught of lifted dialogue from the original episode, and I got a bit into darkness out at that point.
Fair. That's fair.
You've overloaded it. Even a lot of the setup dialogue was just lifted straight from it. Okay, we've got the Balance of Terror script. Let's just copy and paste this section. This is the same. And yeah, I'm going to say this because that's what he said in the original and so on. So I think they went a little bit overboard with that. And it is somewhat disappointing that for a good meta gag, they didn't get James Frain to play the Romulan.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. I did have one. I did stop and look at the credits, and I didn't recognize the actor, at least not readily offhand.
No, he's not given a name, just Romulan Commander.
Right. It's like Matthew or Michael McFadzeon or something. McFadzeon?
Yeah, something like that. I did take a note of it from a review, but it's not on these notes. Bad at my job, apparently. Just not copying my two things. But never mind. So, yeah, he's a good antagonist, but the episode isn't about him. That's the thing. It's about Pike and how he reacts to the situation and his peaceful attempt that doesn't work. But it doesn't work because of the Romulan commander. It doesn't work because the sub-commander goes over his head and the Romulan fleet shows up and decides to attack for some reason.
Right.
Yeah. But as a counter to Pike, we do have a surprise appearance. And it was a surprise appearance for me because the first time I watched the episode, I wasn't looking when the credits were.
Oh.
So I didn't notice the particular name that is important. And I'm glad I didn't. And I'm pretty sure that happened to me before. There was a spoiler in the opening credits as to who would be appearing in an episode. I think it was Discovery. I forget who it was. But I remember just not seeing it, and therefore I was surprised when it happened.
Yeah. No, I saw it. I was like, oh man, they're adding Kirk already. And listen, I like Kirk as a character. We know Kirk. I don't want to see more of Kirk. I want to get to know these other characters. And I have kind of similar thoughts about a surprise voiceover that we get later in the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Although, even though Kirk's not your captain that you want to see, what did you think of Paul Wesley's early portrayal of him, his first go at him? He's a slightly alternate take, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is such a stupid thing, but like his face is too round. like this is so dumb. I'm like, his face is too round and he's not blonde enough. Like that I mean, it's such a dumb aesthetic thing, but that was kind of my thing. I would rather see I would almost have rather seen Dan, can't say his last name correctly, who plays Sam Kirk, shave off the mustache and be James Kirk. Like, I feel like at least he would better embody it physically. I have never seen Paul Wesley in anything, so I don't have any background on his acting ability or his body of work, and so I don't want to bag on him because I just felt like in the promo shots, yeah, he could pull Kirk off. That'd be cool. But then I don't know. I feel like maybe he gets some of the mannerisms right, but it's I don't know. I'm willing to watch more and change my opinion, but this first outing, and again, maybe it's just because we're in a slightly alternate timeline and things are weird with everyone. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I liked him.
You did? Okay, good.
Yeah, no, I thought he did a good job. And the thing that stood out to me is because when you see a character... Spock, stop it.
So funny on recording a Star Trek podcast.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can cut all that.
No, it's fun. Spock.
He's creating trouble. He's causing trouble. But it's always difficult when you watch someone reviving a classic character because you're always going to make those comparisons. The same thing would have happened with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and obviously Ethan Peck when he first appeared. And I think the distinction is whether they're playing the actor or playing the character, as in, how deep into that reference point do you go? And I felt like Paul Wesley wasn't playing Shatner, he was playing Kirk. So he was delivering his take on Kirk. And he still has the swagger, when he walks, he still has the Shatner swagger and the confidence there, that borders on arrogance, but it's arrogance that can be supported by actual factual and practical, events. He can back up his arrogance. He's just that good. You don't get a lot of example of that in this episode, but it will be there. And there's shades of it. So, yeah, I thought he was a good example of Kirk. And I remember feeling the same about Ethan Peck when he first appeared, especially because he doesn't look like Spock when you first see him because he has the beard and so on.
Oh, I love Spock beard. More Spock beard.
Yeah. It's harder to, deliberately, I think, harder to draw that connection to Nimoy because they introduced him in a very different place. But now that he's, clean shaven and serving on the Enterprise, you're starting to see a bit more of the Nimoy coming out, but he's still just playing Spock rather than playing Nimoy. And in the Kelvin era movies, I think the actors, certainly in the first one, weren't quite sure whether they were playing the character or playing the actor.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Playing the character.
Right.
So you get a bit of a parody in some ways and a bit of a fresh take in others.
Right.
And some people sink into it naturally, like Carl Urban, perfect as McCoy from minute one. But I think Chris Pine took a little while to settle in. And by the time you get to Beyond, he's different anyway. He's not the same guy. So same with Zachary Quinto's Spock. But these are the younger iterations of the canon characters we know, unless there's plans to reboot the original series at some point, which actually wouldn't surprise me at this point, because why are you bringing in Kirk if you're just going to throw him in? There's a couple of episodes of Strange New Worlds. I feel like they have plans that they're not sharing with us yet. I thought he was good, and he was good as a counterpoint to Pike. I thought the scene he shared with Sam Kirk was a bit on the nose. It's, what's your brother like? He's arrogant. He doesn't play by the rules. He doesn't do this. You have to watch out for him, etc. And that's probably something that Pike should be learning about him on his own, rather than just being fed this, here's the casting sheet for James Kirk. And I'm just going to read it to you. And then that's what you have to deal with. And then the log entry is Kirk the one I'm watching out for? Is he the one that ruins everything for everybody? And the episode is firing along that line a little bit, as in every decision or every suggestion he has is more forceful. And Pike's like, no, that's not me. We're not doing that. I'm in command here for some reason, even though we're both captains.
I guess Pike is the senior captain.
Yeah, well, there was something in Voyager when Equinox showed up. It was in a combat situation. Command falls to the ship with tactical superiority, which you would guess would be the Enterprise.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, Pike's in command because it's his show. So therefore, he's in command. And Kirk has to follow. Yeah.
Got it.
But they're both two different sides of the same coin. Right. Pike is the consummate diplomat, whereas Kirk is the, not shoot first and ask questions, but he's more, as Spock calls it in The Next Generation, cowboy diplomacy. Right. And that comes across. And again, I'm torn because I don't know how much you're supposed to know about Balance of Terror to sit there and think, listen to Kirk. He's the one that knows what he's talking about in this situation. He's the one that will stop the war.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough one also, too, because, again, we are noticing everybody's a little different. It seems like there's some kind of bad blood floating around the Enterprise, and like an air of distrust. And that's even before the Romulans attack. Like, something is off and we don't know what it is. And so, it might be harder to figure that out. So that's, I'm not sure what to think about this Kirk, because, well, maybe he's not going to be quite like the Kirk that we meet in season 2. So who knows?
Well, the Kirk we meet in season 2 will presumably be younger. He'll be lieutenant or something.
Sure.
He won't be captain yet because this is 7 years later. It's just when Pike stays on the Enterprise, Kirk gets given a different ship. That's
right.
the difference there. But now that Pike has that future knowledge, him and his future knowledge, he knows an awful lot about what's coming up. It seems like he's the one that's in charge of maintaining canon. In a way. He's the one that's
he's the canon police.
Yeah, he's making sure everything plays out as it should, and he's questioning whether it should play as it used to and all that stuff. But so he's going to find Kirk, you presume, because you see him looking at the service record at the end, and then he's going to give him pointers. He's going to look after him. He's going to watch his career. I don't know. He's just interested in which kind of makes sense. So yeah, this Kirk will be different because he commands a different ship and has different experiences and so on.
Right.
But yeah, and I guess for the purposes of this episode, he is a bit of an antagonistic force in a way because he's the one that disagrees with Pike.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to your point about the differences in the crew, you have Spock. He's a lot colder than we've seen him in the show. Much more in line with how he was in the original series, and a bit less. Well, he's not super emotional, but he's got a twinkle in his eye, and whereas the original series, he's very much I'm a Vulcan.
Right.
So he was emulating that, I suppose. Ortegas is a bigot for some reason.
Yeah, and I felt like that was more like the assigned role. The other thing I'm kind of bringing into this is that Melissa did say in an interview maybe about a month ago that we're going to get more Ortega's backstory, which now having seen the finale, we know is coming in season 2.
Yes.
And so, but she did say, she has a family and she's lost people, and and just because like she's, in some ways kind of the comic relief, with her witty banter and constant grin, she's she does have like something in her past that is painful, and we just don't know what that is. And so I'm like, in this episode, I'm thinking, did her family get taken out by Romulans, and we just don't know that yet? What's the deal? So it's interesting. Also, like surely I'm not the only person who was a little thrown off by like her and Mitchell swapping places. Why is that? Did they change helm controls in 7 years? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just the other console does the other thing now.
Right.
That's all it is.
I was like, wait a minute. Is Mitchell flying the ship now? Surely not.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, and is she any relation to Gary Mitchell?
A lot of people have been asking that question. So
in this era of Star Trek, yes, she probably is. Because everything has to reference something else.
Right.
But you just don't have Mitchell in the episode and have Styles like he was in the original episode, and then you don't have to change anything, because I don't see the point in changing a character like Ortegas for the purposes of this, because there's been no evidence that she's in any way bigoted prior to this point. In fact, she gave a warm eulogy about Hemmer last episode. So what happens in 7 years that she suddenly just abandons all notion of getting along with aliens, or specifically Vulcans, apparently?
Yeah, and it's like in this episode, like she doesn't have that same like spark that she does. Like something, like I'm telling you, there is something bad that went down on the Enterprise in these 7 years, and I'm guessing some of it's probably related to Una, and then La'an, is on the Farragut. Now she's not on the Enterprise anymore. And then when you see her get off the transporter pad, like, her hair is down. She doesn't have like her mega tight braids going on, and she hugs Pike. Like, he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were a hugger." Like, what is this? And so, yes, things, something weird's going on. I think we're going to get some conflict, right out of the gate next season. For this to have even been like some measure of reality. And obviously it sounds like the big conflict is going to be, busting Una out of prison, or getting Starfleet to see reason, or getting the Federation to see reason. So, I don't know. There's lots of different layers to unpack that may or may not have anything to do with this episode. But yes, all that being said, there are some like really odd like character changes over the past few years, and we just don't have that kind of information, other than we know that Una's been in prison for 7 years, and that's all we know.
Yeah, and obviously the episode ends with Pike resolving to making sure that doesn't happen.
Right.
But in this timeline, he gives up at some point. Clearly.
Yeah, Like maybe Pike,
or he's still at it. Maybe you don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's lost some of that spark too. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, and there was something I thought that, in retrospect, that they might have done, because the conversation he has with the other captain at the beginning of the episode about the beard, and he says, "I don't know, I feel like that belongs to another era of captain." Was it, thinking back on that, you would that seemed like it was going to be foreshadowing to him having a beard in this future timeline, which he obviously doesn't have. Maybe that was the plan originally, and they just left the line in and didn't notice it.
I don't know.
Or maybe I'm thinking too much about it.
I don't know. I mean, what was it that you and Tony and I called it, the beard of sexy sadness?
Yeah.
So maybe he doesn't have a physical beard of sexy sadness, but his heart has a beard of sexy sadness, and so he's a sad boy in this particular timeline. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
and I wonder if every season's just going to begin with some future knowledge that Pike has that he has to try and figure out whether he needs to change it or not. So yeah, there'll be some log entries about, when I was in that future timeline, I noticed that Ortegas is a bigot for some reason. I'm going to figure out why that happens and stop it. And Una's in prison, which I'm working on. And Spock's even more emotionless than he is now. We need to stop that too. So he's got a list of things that he needs to deal with over the next few years.
Yeah. How can I prevent crew-wide surliness? That's what we got to do.
At least Uhura decides she wants to be here, though. That's something.
That's good news. I did notice that he calls her Nyota, which I think is cool, using the first name.
Yeah, and it's that familiarity he likes to have with people, because
he
always calls people by their first names. There's no real, there's protocol, but there's more of a familiarity. He's very informal.
Right.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from, with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere, and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
For sure.
And even let some people call him Chris. Some people maybe don't feel comfortable calling him Chris. I guess it's dealer's choice, I suppose, because Una can call him it, but the more junior officers.
Oh, for sure.
Which is a bit like what Kirk did with his, sometimes Spock even would call him Jim.
Right.
And so when McCoy would always call him Jim, he didn't respect his authority in any way.
Love McCoy.
Well, I suppose he did, but he just, he didn't feel the need to acknowledge. I guess they're old friends.
Well, you got the whole, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a fill in the blank.
Yeah. And going back to the Kirk reveal, actually, so assuming you're like me and didn't pay attention to the name showing up in the credits, you have the bit about the near ship is the Farragut, and Uhura says that's Lan's ship. Mm-hmm. So I think that certainly planted the idea in my head about, all right, so she'll be the captain of the Farragut. Okay, fair enough. And then it was who's the captain? Oh, it's James Kirk. Like, put him through, and then he shows up on the screen, and it's like, oh my god, you're supposed to applaud. It's the Andrew Garfield walking through the portal. That's what you're supposed to. That's the reaction you're supposed to have.
Right.
Which, yeah, it worked. I thought it worked as a reveal, and again, it relies on you knowing the franchise well, or even not that well.
Yeah,
if you know Star Trek, you know who Kirk is.
And I don't watch as much or read as much Star Trek news, just because I like to be surprised. So I don't make a habit of watching trailers or anything like that. But in my line of work, kind of can't avoid it now. So I kind of wish they hadn't put that up in the opening credits, just because I think it, if you have been paying any measure of attention, that Kirk is coming in season 2. So it was a surprise that, he's going to show up in this finale. Okay. Even if it's a futuristic version of Kirk.
Yeah. And the thing about the way they tease these things, I came across an article, speculation, quote unquote about season 2, and I can't remember what it was on, and I don't want to name check them anyway because it was essentially clickbait trash that they were writing. But they were clearly in the same position we are with access to screeners.
Right.
And they wrote this article where they speculated correctly about certain things.
Oh, yeah.
But speculated incorrectly about certain. So it's things like, maybe Kirk is coming sooner than you think. He might show up in the finale. We don't know. I know that.
Yeah.
Because I know.
Well, and there's nothing to make you guess that either. Like, there's no hint of that going forward. So, no, yeah, that person definitely has screeners.
Yeah, I mean, you can idly speculate about it, to be fair, I suppose, but at the same time, it's just a manipulative thing that people can do. Maybe I should do that. Just make some fake and correct predictions. But that's a complete aside. But I liked Pike and Kirk's dynamic. I thought it seems like they're just different generations of Starfleet captain, I suppose.
Right.
Kirk represents what the top of the line captains need to be in a more uncertain time, because the Romulans are starting to peek their head out of the neutral zone. We know the Klingons are going to be starting to test the waters pretty soon again, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's, so Pike's, let's everybody be nice, hold hands and get along, isn't really going to cut it in the future of exploration in the same way. Look, yeah, that all makes sense. But the whole point is for Pike to realise, if I don't appear at that accident, those people with me that I save don't get saved, the people that unfortunately die in that accident don't die, then this is our future. All out war with the Romulan.
Right. And then lots of other people die. So
yes, billions or millions, or depending on how you slice it. And of course, the more personal and understandable consequence is that Pike, saving himself, only trades his fate for Spock. And Spock's the one that ends up almost exactly like he does. And that's just not something he can live with. It's, saving the galaxy's fine, but, I'm going to do this for a friend.
Right. He's making it personal.
Yeah. And that's the best way to do it, because, try as we might, we can't contemplate the consequences and stakes of galactic war. And that's where Deep Space Nine did it really well, because it did keep telling you these little personal war stories. The great example is in The Pale Moonlight, where Sisko is talking about the casualty list that comes out every Friday. And he says, not a week goes by where one person doesn't see someone they served with, or a friend of a friend, or someone they know on that list. And that gives you that scope, but it also gives you that personal connection to the people. Yeah, but everyone's losing people, Aaron. It's analogous to what we lived with the last couple of years. Right. You read about the percentage of deaths, or the number of deaths as a result of the COVID pandemic. And then you just see it as kind of an unfortunate statistic, but then you hear about someone that loses someone directly, and it brings it home a little bit. And I think that's what the Spock thing does there. It brings it home for Pike. It brings it home for us. Here's your options here.
Right.
Yeah. Which is great. I think it really works. And I love their final moment together as well, where they admit that they're important to each other. It's nice.
Yeah. No, that was really sweet. I do want to rewind just a little bit about Kirk, the conversation. Like, I got a little mixed up watching that. I was like, oh, we're back to our normal timeline. Oh, wait, no, we're not, because Kirk's knocking at the door. And so they sit down and have a drink together. I did see, and that one was interesting because he's like, well, so he said, oh, so your dad was in Starfleet. He's like, yeah, he was the captain of the Kelvin. And so I'm like, ooh, a Kelvin timeline connection.
Yeah. First officer, I think.
Yeah, first officer on the Kelvin. Yeah. So that was kind of interesting that they make that connection. But also you got hints of that relationship that Pike has with Kirk in the Kelvin timeline film.
Yeah.
And I did appreciate that nod.
Yeah, it gives you the opportunity, I guess, which they might not have because of one line of dialogue in an original series episode that talked about how Kirk only ever met him once.
Right.
When he took the ship off him, I think it's not very much, he says. I feel like that's something that you can just ignore if you want to, because why prevent yourself from letting these two actors share screen time just because of one line of dialogue 45 years ago?
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And, we, it and effectively, while it was fun to kind of see that interchange that they have there, it doesn't matter because this is a timeline that's not going to exist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it means something for Pike because he gets to carry that information with him. So
true.
He knows an awful lot about Kirk, and the Kelvin connection was cool. Yeah, I know some people don't want to necessarily acknowledge that it exists, but tough, it does. And
Yep.
the timeline was precisely the same until the wormhole opened, or the black hole opened.
Right.
So yeah, so it basically the Kelvin under Captain Robow with George Kirk as the first officer and a heavily pregnant Winona Kirk in the medical bay. Although it's in canon, it says that Kirk is born in Iowa, so you have to assume they're heading back to Earth at that point, I guess. Yeah, we're going to send her back at some point. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But it's a quirk of his backstory, and so, and you might even get to see George Kirk.
Yeah, that would be
because
fun.
he won't be dead in this timeline.
Yeah, that would definitely be.
Yeah, it was good to get a bit of Sam Kirk in it, and I liked that they had a moment with the two Kirks as well.
Yeah, they got to interact. That was cool.
Yeah, and the impression I was getting about Sam throughout the season is that he's kind of the opposite of his brother, as in he's not as competent. So he kind of is a bit sure of himself, but he can't really back it up because the first time you see him outside of that cameo in the first episode, he gets knocked out because he was an idiot.
Right.
Yeah. And then after that, he didn't really do very much after that. He just runs around and survives the Gorn encounter because, he's alive later. He's invincible.
I was really just waiting for him to say, "Game over, man, game over," like the whole time.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah. Can we please have that happen? But alas.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just good to give us a tease of that. I think, and the first alternate meeting of Kirk and Spock as well. Good to meet you, Mr. Spock. That little wink almost to the audience there.
Right.
Yeah. Don't worry, you'll see the real first meeting soon.
Right.
Possibly, whatever that'll be.
Right.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. And like I say, back to the Pike Spock moment where they admit to being important to one another, and you can almost see the wheels in motion in Spock's brain as he starts as he starts thinking about how am I going to repay this? Because this is a huge sacrifice this guy is making for me. I'm going to have to honor that in some way. There's got to be something I can do. Mm-hmm. So it almost adds a bit of texture to his decision to do what he does in the menagerie. So that's a nice bit of prequel foreshadowing, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. You get like this, like you can see the depth of their relationship.
Yeah, and Pike putting this to bed now. I'm glad they're hopefully finally putting this to bed. This whole, I'm just going to accept my fate here because the alternative is way worse.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously acknowledging that Spock is the key to eventual peace with the Romulans as well, because of all he does there, of all the good work he does in together.
Unification 1 and 2.
Yes, and 3 apparently.
And 3 from Disco, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't really have anything else on what the other crew are doing. That's the problem with this episode for me as well, is the crew are not there.
Yeah.
It's just a Pike story.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fine because Anson Mount's great, and and one of the things I love about him as Pike is that Pike is a really great delegator. Like he knows how to trust the strengths of his crew, which is just mark of good leadership. And he doesn't have any trouble delegating. And so kind of a side effect is you actually get to see more of the crew in action, which is cool. But you don't get to, it's like, you almost don't get to see him as much because of that. And, so I think there's good and bad things to that, but it was nice to have a Pike-centric episode, but at the same time, I'm like, I still want to understand what's going on with everybody else. This is a tough situation. And, who knows, hopefully this is a timeline that we won't see too much of in the rest of the series, but I'm just like, I'm worried now, like what's going to happen in season 2? I feel like this season has been so fun and optimistic on the whole. I feel like I grin through like almost every episode with the exceptions of like 6 and 9. Everything else, like, I don't want bad things to happen to these people, which I mean might be a silly thing to expect. Otherwise, there's no show to watch. It's just them flying around, which I mean is still pretty fun. But still, it's man, I want to know what happened to kind of cool the vibe, the camaraderie that the crew once had. I feel like it's not the same.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And I guess the point is that Pike doesn't have that context either, so he's thrown into essentially an alien situation because he doesn't know these people. Because people can change a lot in 7 years, they obviously do, makes it a bit more surprising that he doesn't make Spock fill him in a bit more on the details, or if his journey to the future doesn't somehow give him some kind of memory dump so he understands what's going on, because it's not his timeline anyway. I think it will be up to a point, because surely it has to play out exactly almost like this until the time of his accident, I guess. Right. Although you don't know what else he's been changing. He sends that letter to the kid, so he might be putting other things in place to stop other people from getting involved as well.
Right.
In the meantime, whereas now he's just going to not do that. He's just going to let things play out as they should.
Right.
Yeah, you lack context, I guess, and throwing them into that future is difficult because they aren't the characters that we've been following.
Right.
They're much further forward. And it's a bit like that Next Generation episode where Riker wakes up and he thinks it's 15 years later.
Oh, yeah.
And it isn't. But it's a whole thing. It's weird manipulation, and then it's another weird manipulation within that manipulation. So it's this weird thing. But it's a bit like that. As in I don't know these people. I don't recognize the world because a lot's changed, and I have to just muddle through. And Pike's kind of doing that. It's fine because he can deal with the situation because he's just on the bridge doing something. So he doesn't really need the context. And the whole idea is, well, we don't know if there's etc. So there's a lot of things he doesn't need context on, but I feel like he needs more than he has.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing I might add to our discussion was the voiceover cameo that we get while Spike. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? More coffee. Spock is trying to fix the weapons array in the Jeffries tube, and he's communicating with an unnamed engineer who has a distinct Scottish accent, which is in the credits is only named as engineer, and it's a voice actor. His name is Matthew Wolfe. But I guess my question is: Are these hints of is this going to be our new chief of engineering? Is Montgomery Scott? As much as I love Scotty as a character, I'm really mad they killed him. Just to be perfectly honest, I'm like, this is stupid. Yeah. Like, you have killed your only completely alien character that doesn't look like a human with pointy ears. You've killed off like your so he's creating crew diversity just by being an alien, but also like he's blind and he's portrayed by a blind actor. Like I don't like that you have taken that out, and if you replace him with Scotty, as great as Scotty is, it's not the same thing.
No.
I'm not ready to have every single person from the original series just magically show up on this show. I want to get to know these other characters. I'm going to say that till the show ends.
Yeah, I agree. And I said last week with Mike that I think the Hammer death works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, I suppose it is a bit Tasha Yar, isn't it? We've got a character that we're going to kill off in our first season.
Yes, but I had that thought too. And I think his death was heroic, and it fit with the story. And it fit within, that's exactly how a pacifist character would handle his death. He's like, I don't want to harm anyone else, so I'm going to go out.
Yeah.
A friend of mine pointed out that kind of made an homage to one of the, I think it was one of the Antarctic explorers, and they were in bad times. And he said, I'm going to go on a walk for a while. I'll be away for a while. And and so he took himself outside to die. So
Bruce Horak said he'll be back next season.
Oh, did he?
Interview. Yeah, I don't know what capacity it will be as a different character, obviously. So he'll be Kenneth Mitchell-esque, I guess. For he played 2 or 3 Klingons on Discovery, and then a scientist in the 31st century as well. The guy in the wheelchair, whatever it was.
Yeah. Could have told you his name if you hadn't asked me. But yes, him.
Yeah, whatever his name was. Yeah. So recycling actors is Star Trek 101, isn't it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Not necessarily with main characters, though. So will he show up as Hemmer's brother? I don't know. But he will be back. I don't know if it'll be in a main character capacity next season, but he'll be back, so he still gets to work. And yeah, I would have liked him to keep Hemmer. And if you want to bring Scotty on, bring him on as a junior engineer.
Right.
So he's just one of Hemmer's team, and he's there, and he's chiming in and doing stuff. And Yeah, they did the voice, and it was a pretty bad Scottish accent for that voice actor. It has
You
to
would
be
know.
said.
You would know.
Speaking from experience, yeah. It's more of an homage to James Doohan's
Right.
voice. Scottish accent was also not very. So I guess they're trying to homage that, but I don't know. Something that's bad is still bad. Simon Pegg was fine.
Mm-hmm.
He did the work and came up with some kind of accent. He kind of had all of the Scottish accents. Though,
Is Simon Pegg Scottish or is he English?
He's English, but his wife is Scottish.
Got it. Okay.
I guess he based it on her in some way.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that was a frustrating cameo for me. I just found that a bit on the nose.
Yeah, and I was frustrated for different reasons.
Yeah.
I don't. We know Scotty. Let's talk about somebody else.
I would quite like the idea actually. If Strange New World say ran for 5 seasons, over those 5 seasons you could start seeing other members of the Enterprise crews we know them trickle in.
Sure. I would be okay with that, but you are cramming like 17 of them into the first season. That I'm not okay with.
Yeah, because we've already got Uhura, we've already got Chapel, we've already got Scotty.
Or Spock.
Not Scotty, Spock, we've already got Scotty as well. We've already got, Mbenga, but he's not like a main character by any means. But we have enough for one season. And then, like I say, you want to bring Scotty and bring him in as a junior engineer.
Right.
And then he can do that. And there's a Pike era novel I read. It was actually Scotty's first day on the Enterprise. That's not what the story's about, but it's just something that's happening. And he's brewing hooch in the engine room and stuff. So into that stereotype. But it's the idea of the crew was built up over time. Everybody ended up here at some way. So you get Sulu turning up at some point maybe and doing stuff. And I don't know. I do wonder if that's why they didn't decide to cast a face for Scotty, because we're probably going to do this later, or we want the option to do this later.
Right.
And we don't want to be stuck with someone. And that's why Sulu's not there. That's why Pike's crew hasn't changed an awful lot in 7, but you would expect it would, because otherwise it's a bit like, Voyager had an excuse, but it's just the same people doing the same job for the entire time. It's not necessarily something you would expect, not in something like this. Or it's more like Enterprise, I suppose she's still in a decade. that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, it's... like I say, I found that cameo frustrating. And sometimes I really hate being pandered to as a fan, because whoever wrote that thought, this could be brilliant. People are going to love it. And I'm sitting there thinking, I didn't love it. I'm okay with just watching Spock repair the ship on his own.
Right.
Plus, as you say, they got rid of Hemmer, who was a really interesting character who probably had, I don't know, you could easily count his minutes of screen time.
Yeah, and I find that frustrating. I am glad that Bruce Horak is going to be back, because I think he's fun. I'm eager to see him in another role. I am sorry that it is not Himmer, though. I like Himmer's delightful grumpiness. He's a blue meanie, as as Erica called him last episode. Yeah,
she would call him worse in this episode, though. Probably.
Yeah, I apparently I'm like, girl, calm down.
Yeah. She would call him like a blind idiot or something like that this time. Yeah, we don't want that. We really don't want that.
No, we don't.
There's no room for bigotry on the...
There is not.
Famously said. Yeah. So the ending then, it ends with Pike's, I don't know, his open relationship captain, friend.
His hookup buddy, Captain Battelle.
I actually do like the approach they have to relationships in this show in general, because you have it with Chapel, where she is, trying to make the most of the practicalities of, I'm on a ship that's never in one place for very long, so that lends itself to more casual relationships, and then just the normalizing of casual connections in that way. Those are fine; those suit people. Yeah,
that was a interesting choice. But I mean, it also kind of makes sense for Pike's character, because he loves to what does Una say about him in I think it's in Discovery's or in this first episode, he's completely unsentimental about anything except horses. So I mean that makes sense for his character as well.
Yeah, and it just makes sense for a captain as well.
Right.
Yeah, it's good to normalize that life choice, because the joke used to be that Kirk is a player. He's out there, boldly going and into whatever alien he can find, whereas this is a bit more of a mature look at that type of relationship. So
right.
Yeah. So the idea is that, or the implication is, he can still have a fling with someone like Alora on whatever that planet was called, and it doesn't have to mean anything to connection with Battelle, and And then there's that. But they don't really do much with the ins and outs of the relationship as such. But it's a good little callback to that. And then she's the one that has to arrest Una, which creates a bit of a conflict there. That sorry, I've got orders. And Pike, well, he doesn't quite understand that because he just tries to beat up a security officer.
Right. And she does make it clear that she thinks this is stupid.
Yeah.
So I guess she has some degree of familiarity with Una as well.
Yeah, they're bound to know this. There's that. Yeah. There's a suggestion of a long relationship between Pike and Battelle, so you would imagine that Una would know her well enough as well, because her and Pike are also close. So just ordered to arrest Una because she's an augment, I suppose is the term that we're going to be using.
Yeah.
Illyrian. She's being arrested for being Illyrian. And it's a callback to that third episode where Pike says, I welcome that discussion. Well, now that's the discussion.
The discussion is here.
Yeah. I'm surprised it took this long.
Right.
Did Starfleet only just get the message? Or did someone clipe, perhaps?
That's my question. I'm really curious if how did this information get out? Because Pike knows. Obviously, M'Benga and Chapel and Spock and La'an know.
Yeah.
But that seems to be about it.
Did Spock know before this? I don't think he did. Because, he wasn't there at the time.
Oh, that's true. Spock maybe didn't know. You're right.
He knows in the Balance of Terror timeline.
Right.
Because of what happened. Because
of course,
it'll be public knowledge by this point. But I don't know if he actually knows in the present day. I don't think he would care in the present day either. But
he
certainly, I don't think he knows. But everybody knows. I guess we're going to start the next season with a bit of a riff on Measure of a Man, maybe.
Maybe. We shall see.
With this is her right to exist. Why are we so scared of genetic engineering? Mm-hmm. And surely it has to end in them still being scared of genetic engineering because they never get over, as we see. But maybe Una's okay as the exception.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, I have no idea. But I thought that was a striking ending.
Right.
Obviously, they allude to it early episode when Pike asks where she is.
Right. Yeah, that is a good point. I hadn't quite done the math on that. Oh, this is she's been in prison for seven years, and then not thinking about how. Oh wait, that is that's now in the regular timeline.
Yeah, it's because you're so focused on the events as they're playing out at that moment, rather than the events that will be ending the episode. Because the episode ends on that triumphant note of Pike going, "Yeah, this is my place. I'm just going to enjoy it while I can," and then it's the rug pull happens.
Right.
And then Pike makes the promise that it's not over. I do think the impulsive attacking a security guard was just never going to solve it.
Yeah. That wasn't going to fix much, but I also understand the reaction. So
yeah, I do feel like there's going to be some kind of reveal that it was someone on the ship that leaked it to Starfleet, and my immediate suspicion is either La'an or now Ortegas, I guess.
No, I don't think so. I really don't. But it's still this is weird. I don't know. I don't know.
Because La'an in the future, she wasn't like, no one talked to her. Good riddance. She does seem a bit more regretful about it. She doesn't, it takes her back. It's like, why is he asking about this? He knows, and it's not a good thing. But that's the impression you get. But since they characterized Ortegas as a bigot, I wonder if that's the reveal. It was like, I told them. If that'll come in, I don't know. But then Pike would throw her off the ship. So,
right? Yeah. No, I don't think it's either of them. I think it's somebody else. So we'll see.
Yeah. Or they just check the ship's logs or something.
Right.
We'll find out. It's oddly similar to the ending of season 2 of Lower Decks, actually.
Yeah, no, you're right. I hadn't thought about that until just now.
Yeah. So we have a riff on Vulcan Hello. We have a riff on the season 2 finale of Lower Decks. Hopefully it doesn't keep getting this repetitive.
Yeah. They've got plenty to work with where they can do their own things.
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts on A Quality of Mercy? Anything that you noted that we didn't cover?
I'm sorry to see Strange New Worlds come to an end for the first season. I wish there had been a few more episodes, but I think overall we've got a lot to look forward to in season 2. I think this is probably the most solid first season of any Star Trek series that has ever aired. I think this is a really great opening. It didn't have to find its feet. I felt like it went in knowing what it was like already. And I think, of course, you've got that established connection with Discovery that helped with that a little bit, but you've also still got a lot of new characters, and characters that, while we're familiar with them, because they're legacy characters or have legacy connections, they weren't in those episodes of Discovery. So
yes,
I'm happy that this series went as well as it did. So well done on a solid first season, Strange New Worlds writers. Looking forward to season.
Yeah, we'll need to look back at that Discovery episode and see whose bridge crew were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought to do that.
Yeah, me neither. But yeah, we might see that Ortegas was there all along.
Maybe.
Probably not.
No,
it'll be someone else. Maybe it was supposed to be her, or at least retroactively supposed to be her. But, and so, yeah, so one thing I didn't quite get an answer to. So in your opinion, do you think this works without knowing Balance of Terror? Or certainly you know it, but you don't know it intimately as I do.
I think it works. But it's tonally it is a completely different episode than Balance of Terror. Like, they're discussing different things. Like, I mean, Balance of Terror was effectively a commentary on the Vietnam War. This is Pike trying to change his fate, and those are very different things.
Yeah, they're just played amongst the same backdrop, I suppose. Right. Yeah.
But I think too that it also harkens to the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if you listen to Mission Log, the podcast that it's an episode by episode take on every Star Trek series ever created. It's a Roddenberry show.
Okay. No, I've never heard it.
Okay, so one thing the things they discuss at the end of every episode of Mission Log is morals, meanings, messages of the episode, and does this hold up over the years? And so right now they're currently just wrapped the first season of Voyager, so they're that far along in the franchise continuity, and so I think what this is telling, though, is you can take a lot of the same framework from the episode of Balance of Terror, and it still works for this kind of storytelling where, on the surface it is about, Pike trying to change the future of this one kid and, consequently saves himself. But at the same time, he starts a war, and Spock is completely debilitated. So you've got I think the framework of the story works, and you can tell lots of different stories with it. And I guess for me, that just tells you of the quality of stories that Star Trek is telling, is that you've got a story from 1966 that still works in 2020. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you couldn't just do a straight retelling of Balance of Terror now anyway, I don't think, because the context is different.
Right.
The mindset is different, and that's why I've always been against the notion of a straight remake of the original series, because the motivation would be to, let's make these episodes again, but update them. And what would updating them be? You would have to really think about how you update them, because a lot of the messaging and a lot of the setup is of the time.
Right.
And it wouldn't work in the same way just now. So if you want to do a commentary on the Vietnam War, it's going to fall on deaf ears for a lot of people, because it was not of the time. It wasn't happening at that point. You do have to recontextualize it. And the thing about modern Trek is it recontextualizes Star Trek storytelling in a more personal context. It's more about the characters and how they feel about it, because that's certainly on a lot of network television, that's the way that, I watch a lot of CW shows. On the CW, it's all about how everybody feels. And there's a lot of that in modern Trek as well. So it makes sense that they're doing it on a more personal level, right, which is something that Star Trek didn't really do very often, or not in the same way. So it's interesting. Let's do Balance of Terror, but let's make it about how Pike feels about this situation, right, rather than about any of the other stuff. Because Balance of Terror is not about how Kirk feels about the job he's doing. Mm-hmm. There is a bit in it where he does doubt himself. It's a scene that often gets cut for television, but it's the one where McCoy reassures him about the Drake equation. So right. I still don't really understand what he's on about, but still, it's that moment of private self-doubt for him. But in this, it's all that moment of private self-doubt for Pike. That's what the episode is about. Right. As opposed to just being a thing within the episode. So I don't know how well I'm articulating that, but it's more in line with the modern storytelling sense of Star Trek as a whole, which I do think works. But I wonder just because it's just such a straight retelling. It's hard for me to tell if they're cutting corners because they expect the audience to already know what's going on.
Right.
If that makes sense, because I'm filling in the blanks already in my brain because I already know how it plays out.
Right. Yeah. So I'm eager to see what folks who might not be as familiar with that episode I have to say about this once it releases on Thursday.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's most of your audience, right? Or that's what Paramount should be hoping is a good chunk of their audience.
Right.
Is people that haven't consumed every episode of Star Trek ever. So because that's alienating to new audiences.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I think it's fun for us on one level because we have seen Balance of Terror along with every other episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like, this is so it's fun for us on one level, but is it going to be accessible for those who haven't? So, I mean, I think that's a great question. So, I'm eager to see what the reaction is by those.
Yeah, and we can maybe, if Mike does a season roundup, maybe he can try and find some quotes from people that haven't seen Balance of Terror.
Yeah.
There's a challenge for you, Mike, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Because I know that you are.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so if you don't have anything else, because I don't have anything else, I completely drained my notes. So.
Yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about that. But yeah, thanks
Cool.
for having me on today, Craig. It was awesome.
No worries. Where else can the good people of the internet find you on said internet?
All right, good people of the internet. If you would like to connect with me, you can hit me up on the tweets at The Nerdy Blogger. You can like my Facebook page, facebook.com/The Nerdy Blogger. You can read my words on my blog, nerdyblogging.wordpress.com. You can also read my words on fangirlish.com, where I write about film and television, and I am the Trekspert in residence, so I'm writing a lot about Star Trek. You can also hear my words being read on the Sci-Fi 5 podcast, which is a Roddenberry show, which is 5 minutes of science fiction history, 5 days a week. And finally, aside from a bunch of shows here on the We Made This podcast network, you can hear me on my own podcast that I do with some friends called Dearly Debated, where we fuss at each other about film, television, comics, video games, whatever we're geeking out about.
Cool. And I can be found on Facebook or Twitter. No, please cut that nonsense. I can be mostly found on Kneel Before Blog. That's my main home, where I write about Star Trek, mostly Star Trek actually, The Boys, The Flash, Superman and Lois, now finished, etc. I review films, Ms. Marvel, Marvel stuff as well. And there's an attached podcast called Kneel Before Pod. So we'll be doing an episode about this at some point, the whole season of Strange New Worlds. We're going to talk about Thor, Ms. Marvel, everything. We talk about all this nerdy stuff. So if you haven't heard enough of me, you can find me there. Yeah. And We Made This, I crop up wherever I'm needed. So at the moment it's on We Are Starfleet because that's where I'm needed. And I suspect I'll be back on Rarely Going when Prodigy comes back, whenever that is, and so on. Just whenever people need a guest, I answer the call sometimes when I'm available. So all over the shop.
We put up the Craig signal.
We do. Well, they do. And personally on Twitter, you can find me under Nemesis4909, which, since I'm on a Star Trek podcast, I definitely have to say this, didn't start life as a Star Trek reference. It started life as a Resident Evil reference and then became a Star Trek reference. So there we go. And that is me. But Star Trek isn't all we discuss on the We Made This network. There's a bunch of shows about a bunch of stuff. So if you go on your podcast feed and you can find that, you go on Twitter, find us there. Yeah, there's WeMadeThisNetwork.com is the website. There's all sorts of stuff. If you have an area of interest, there is a 99.6% chance that this network will cover it in some way. So go find it there. And a final detail that I forgot to mention is apparently this episode of Star Trek marks the end of a 48-week straight run of episodes of Star Trek.
Right.
For the first time in history. So,
yeah, we don't have a new Star Trek coming up next
no,
week, do we not?
No, we don't know when we have new Star Trek.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I can't understand. That is unfathomable to me, as we have been blessed with very nearly a year of Star Trek.
Yeah, they're almost fulfilling their promise of the year we want Star Trek.
I mean, I ain't mad about it. Keeps me employed.
Well, for me, I don't get paid to do the writing I do, so sometimes it's give me a little bit of a break. Yeah. I'm okay with the summer off like we used to get back in the day. But,
take a breather, think about things.
Yeah. But yeah, if you stay tuned, you will find you will hear some excerpts of other things that people are saying on the network on other shows. But until next time, it's been a blast taking the reins from Mike periodically to discuss Star Trek for We Are Starfleet, and I'm sure you'll echo that as well, having sat in the captain's chair in Mike's stead, and after we mutinied.
Yeah. But you know, he lets us back on, so Mike's a very forgiving captain.
Yes, he forgives mutiny, so there's hope for us all.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. But until next time, We Are Starfleet will be back. Well, probably with the season roundup, but after that, it'll be back at some point. But until then, hit it.
Elsewhere on We Made This. Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast.
This was one you requested, Matt. Was there any particular reason?
Part of it is because it meant that I got to get onto Out of Time.
Oh, okay, so that was the reason, right.
Yeah, no, so ask me that question again when we do episode 2 of season 10.
I think I know what you're talking about on that particular episode that you might want to be on.
Oh, it's episode 1, yeah.
Yes.
But also, I think I'm quite a big Rimmer fan, and I always find Rimmer-centric episodes interesting, dependent on their quality. And this and the next episode, and I don't really want to go into something that is more relevant for next episode.
Free with this month's issue. Talking about double bass, did you ever play double bass?
No, I have touched a double bass, but I've never actually played it. I'll stick with a 5-string Warwick, and that'll be all right.
The only time I've ever played one was the short period I was at university. They've got one in the music room there, and I used to play it on its side like a normal bass. Although I'm nowhere near as big as Pete Steele from Typo Negative, so it was even more ridiculous when I did it than when he does it. Movieversaries podcast.
Yeah, I like, A New Hope. I like Strikes Back. I like The Last Jedi. I think Revenge of the Sith is pretty good. But Rise of Skywalker can just...
Rise of Skywalker is terrible.
Yeah, terrible. You know what I mean?
On our podcast, we're big fans of The Last Jedi, and we do not like Rise of Skywalker at all.
Oh, maybe I'll fit right in then.
Maybe you'll fit right in.
But yeah, I can offer maybe a controversial take. Like, for example, I think The Return of the Jedi is not good.
Get out. Get out.
Hey, man, this is my podcast. You get out.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.